Hello everyone, it's good to see you back. Today we're diving deep into a powerful build that combines the sheer energy and chaos of No Time to Explain, Getaway Artist, and Iron Sentry Three Turret Build. Now, are you keen to try out odd setups that sometimes just work extremely well in endgame content? Well, now's your time to give this bad boy a try. The following will grant you 3 turrets, all providing damage one way or another. It will also buff our sentry to appear more often within the setup, so you can in practice have up to 4+ sentries in one area, and the amount of energy you're getting back will allow you to spam your abilities, while also having Getaway Artists available at a moment's touch. So if you enjoy turrets, and I mean lots of them, then this build might be worth your time. So start with Exotic Armor, Getaway Artist, with Exotic Effect, Dynamic Duo. It states, convert your Arc Grenade into an Arc Soul and become amplified. The Arc Soul functions as an autonomous turret. The main purpose of its use in the build is to have an arc turret available. These turrets are fast firing and can deal with the smaller enemies fairly well. Against the bigger enemies though, it won't make a huge dent into them, which is fine, as the turret alone will generate bolt charges and can even activate them as you wish. This here, when paired up with No Time to Explain and Iron Sentry, is the ideal combo you want if you wish to maximize your current arc turret moments. With these 3 active, they can quite easily deal with mini bosses without even our heavy being in use. Our second exotic is No Time to Explain, with Exotic Effect, Rewind Again, and Time Split, which states, precision shots and shots against combatants slowed or frozen by stasis will return to the magazine. At 10 stacks of Rewind Again, a small portal will open, shooting bullets from an alternative timeline version of this weapon. Precision hits extend the portal's duration. And No Time to Explain is going to be massively assisting us with generating ionic sentries as we play. As the aspect allows kinetic defeat to charge this up, this alone is going to allow us to create multiple turrets in between what we currently have. This will feed into Ionic Sentry, which will feed into Getaway Artist, which will feed into our Fragments, and so forth. All 3 combined allows this build to function in great synergy and not require much input on the user's end. Now I can see the Finality Ager also being useful here, as you can then swap out your primary for an Arc primary instead with Arc 3.0 abilities. But this will be linked to actually having the exotic to start. You also have to worry about heavy ammo being used, which can be a pain at times in most activities. Still, it's worth keeping in mind. For aspects of Fragments, you have the following. Electric Stat of Mind when defeating targets with arc abilities or jolt targets creates ion traces. Collecting traces makes you amplified. Ionic Sentry when defeating targets with kinetic, arc weapons or arc abilities will charge up an arc turret that will periodically attack nearby targets. Spark of Beacons while amplified, special and heavy arc weapons can blind targets after kill. Spark of Shock where arc grenades jolt targets. Spark of Ions where defeating a jolt target creates ion traces, and Spark of Frequency where melee hits increase your weapon's stability and reload speed for a few seconds. While amplified, the effects are increased and you gain increased bolt charges from all sources. And keeping the setup simple, we've gone with items that will greatly benefit us with providing ion traces, bolt charges and jolt on a relatively large scale. A lot of our abilities being refreshed and activated will be relied on our arc weapons of choice and Ionic Sentry, which will be doing a lot of heavy lifting within the build. Ideally, by using No Time to Explain consistently, I will create enough energy to build up Sentry as much as I like. Once this is active, it will not only blind and bolt charge enemies nearby us, but the damage will also trigger Spark of Ions and Electric Stat of Mind for even more ion traces and ability energy in the process. Combine this with Spark of Beacons and Ionic Sentry ability to blind, and the Dielectric and Defibrillating Blast seasonal mods, and you get a well-rounded setup that will grant you constant ability uptime for nothing. And because of how easy it is to get the setup running, it does leave you room to add weapons that don't have much synergy to the build, but can help either way, such as a Void heavy weapon paired up with the Void seasonal mods. On top of that, if you don't like what is shown, you can swap out Spark of Beacons fragment for the Discharge fragment instead, so you can create more charges as you go along. The build doesn't need a lot to make it function, since it's kind of relying on the exotics and aspects to do their part. As long as these 4 things are running, the rest of the fragments picks can be adapted to choices you generally prefer. Now for the mods and stats, we have Resilience and Discipline marked with the highest priorities for the build. Resilience we have ours at tier 10 for a 30% damage reduction. I've added the Arc Resistance mod, although this will vary from fights to fights. If you don't need a reserve mod, then it's recommended to add a Solar Resistance mod as the next best thing for dealing with enemies. Discipline we have ours at tier 10 for 46-second cooldown via flashbang grenades. Flashbangs are highly recommended as they are great for ad control, but also because we have Spark of Beacons on hand, which can also blind enemies caught by a second weapon finish. On top of that, this will also trigger dielectric and harsh refraction seasonal mods, which is a bonus that can be quite easy to activate via our weapons of choice. Our build will make full use of blind through 3 ways, so it only makes sense to triple down further, the same way I've tripled down on the 3 turrets currently available. So to expand on the abilities being spammed, we have the following: Momentum Transfer ×1 for a 12% melee ability regen, Impact Induction ×2 for a 17% grenade ability regen, and Outreach for a 12% grenade ability regen as well. The additional mods, we have the following: Connect Siphon for creating orbs of power via matching weapons types, Ashes to Assets, where getting a grenade kill will generate super energy, Heavy Ammo Finder, Reserves and Scavenger mods for a heavy and special weapon, Charged Up for a +1 armor charge, Kinetic Surge ×1 for a 10% kinetic weapon buff, a Powerful Attraction for automatically collecting orbs of power when using class ability, and Time Dilation, which will reduce the decay rate of charged gear. As we have covered the exotic primary weapon, now I will advise you to pick some super weapons for the build. What I recommend are all optional, so please keep this in mind. A secondary is Undead Kindness with Beacon Rods and Dazio. This will be used when dealing with champions and mini-bosses alike, but ideally pairing this up with Spark of Beacons is going to allow us to blind a wide number of enemies, making it easier for us to gather enough points for Iron Sentry to activate. I decided that this would be best since its damage is quite good to start with, so it's generally reliable, and since my grenade and Iron Sentry can also blind on impact, it would be best to just double down on the current situation. Now if you don't care about dealing with champions, then the plug one with Parkour Deconstruction is also a good pairing for more bigger threats to deal with. For heavy with Eyes Unveiled with Triple Tap and Frenzy. Giving the following a try, the linear fusion is quite decent when compared to the Taipan for FR. Although Doom Petitioner is better because of its flame type and perks, the following does come with the Rune of Overweapon perk, which is basically overflow when you think about it. Ideally this is being used for damage alone, and having the Volatile Marksman, Melee Harvest, and Void Flux is highly recommended just for how easy and powerful these seasonal mods can benefit our current weapon. Having a way to create turrets all at once isn't new, as this can be done via prismatic fragments and aspects options currently available in game. However, doing this in the Arc now, with 2 mobile turrets and 1 stationary one, is a lot more impactful whether you're doing ad clearing or even dealing with bosses. I found this setup to work quite well with how easily you can generate energy to create your Iron Sentry, which in turn can feed back into our Arc Soul, which in turn can then help activate No Time to Explain mini turret as well. Such a loadout, when fully combined, allows users to have a mini fire team of their own, one that hits hard and fast, and can rotate at a decent speed when needing to opt into other weapons. It's quite unusual not to see a setup like this become popular overnight because of its strength and ease of use for all users to get on with. Like, being able to apply these extra damage from turrets can massively help when dealing with the Hive Knights that have swords and shields for example, as all of this plus your weapon can stun them and then kill them before needing to even use a heavy weapon at all. But on top of that, you also have the option to apply Jolt, Blind and Bolt charges as you go along, as all of these will be actively created just from the setup getting an engagement. This alone should encourage you to actually try the build out, as your firepower alone is enough for you to deal with the more annoying enemies there and then, instead of waiting for allies to come or even use a super plus heavy when you don't even want to. Truthfully, most people may not want a build that so relies on just turrets though, which I do understand, as most people prefer the prismatic Getaway Artist and Stasis turret combo, which is simple and pretty powerful for solo players in mind. Add in solo turrets as well, and you can see why most people would prefer a mixed synergy of elements instead of a standard one. Non-stop Arc has a quality of its own that does outshine what Prismatic offers, and just using this in backgrounds GMs, it does show off the beauty of triple sentries in one condensed area. If you enjoy turret based builds a lot and want to expand that into Arc, I would suggest you try this out first as a basis to achieve what you're after, and then expand how you see fit. So there we have it. I hope you all enjoyed the build breakdown. If you have any thoughts and content shared, then please leave a comment, a like and a sub while you're here. A dim link for the build located below in the pin section, and I do advise you check out my playlist for more. It was great sharing today's video with you all, and I hope to see you again soon.